Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I started the show with my throat not being right. Here we go. Let me drink some coffee. Okay, we're going to start here at XRPLHQ.com, one of my sponsors. If you haven't gone and clicked, if you're building something on the XRP ledger and you haven't done it already, you can click right here to go talk to them about promotion. They're going to have you right up here. If I click here, it takes me to the prices. Let's check them out. XRP, everything's flat like it was yesterday. Not a lot going on. XRP still at 47 cents. Let's go. I want to remind everybody, today, I believe, Circle, which sold out really quickly last week, they added it onto the platform on Link2, who's one of my sponsors. Links in the top of the description. They're adding more Circle today. Who knows? Maybe I'll try to get some. I don't know. They're adding more today, and so we shall see on that. I think everybody wants a piece of that, and so we'll see what happens, see how fast it goes. Now, I wanted to float this question out there before you watch this by Tim Draper. He's one of the people that I think is a really likable guy and speaks a lot of common sense, and he's in the classic video with Gary Gensler on stage, where he explains to Gary how the incumbents are going to do it and how they're going to use their friends in government to try to stop the startups and all, which they've done with the help of Gary. This is my question, because now we know all of the CCP involvement with people from the SEC, with people at the White House. Now we know with people in Ethereum. Now we know all about it all, and we know that all roads lead to China. And so my question is, at what point do we start asking if people in power are intentionally destroying the United States from the inside, and who are they doing it for and why? Listen to this.
I have no idea why the SEC would try to go after two groups that are doing everything they can to comply with all the ridiculous regulations that these guys are putting together. And somehow the SEC decides to slap them down. I think we need a new way of thinking at the SEC. This is not.
Has the SEC contacted you about this, Tim? Do regulators have questions for you in particular?
No, but I think they have a problem, and I think it is that they tried to make all of crypto securities or exchange.
No, they tried to create a monopoly. And ETHgate's discovery busted that up.
It's because they're called the Securities and Exchange Commission, so everything they see is either a security or an exchange. Crypto's not like that. It's a different thing. It's a different animal, and the U.S. has just been very, very slow to figure it out, to regulate it, and to set the right rules.
Think about it for a minute. First they tried ETHgate. Then they tried FTX, and then they tried Prometheum. And every time, because these things are not founded in truth and honesty and what's right for this country, every time it fails and gets busted up because these people are not being honest. They're not working in the interests of the American people, and so it keeps blowing up in their face.
And structure so that we can continue to innovate.
Tim, do you think, Tim,
the U.S. has been the center of innovation for all these years, and all of a sudden we're losing it. We're losing it to all these countries who are a little bit more fleet of foot, and they're coming and they're saying, "Hey, bring your Bitcoin company to our country. We don't have all those ridiculous regulations that are 80-something years old, 83 years old." We have a new set of regulations. They've all been set up for crypto. We know what the rules are, and here they are. And if you're an entrepreneur, this is the way you can play.
Tim,
in the U.S., you don't know how to play.
That guy's a smart man, and he's a good man. He also, I'm not going to play this clip, but he also said that his $250,000 prediction, because of all these shady regulators, he's pushing it to 2025 for Bitcoin, 250,000. Now, I showed you this the other day. This guy's tracking. He's saying if you only knew how much the CCP controlled Ethereum, ERC20s, and a long list of others, below is a sample of the Bridge to Truth. That's a great thumbnail. Bridge to Truth. Okay? Because that's what we're doing here. Now, the reason I bring that up, and you just saw what I said about the Draper clip. Remember this clip where the girl from Consensus actually asked Joseph Lubin questions? When you start thinking about the CCP having ownership of Ethereum from that ICO, then it really starts to make sense why nobody seems to want to find out who those disguised whales are. Listen to this.
A lot of things in the ecosystem.
And Ethereum has been on proof of work for 7 years now.
Exactly. I think we're pretty well distributed, unless your own organization perhaps has a very large number of the tokens.
I cannot disclose that. I am the moderator. No, I'm just kidding. But one more follow-up question, because I want to just double down a little bit more on supply distribution, and it's for you, Joe. Are you concerned at all that early investors in ETH during the ICO still hold and control a lot of the supply of Ethereum?
Zero concern about that.
Given that you've explained...
From what I know, I have zero concern that there's...
From what I know, but I'm not going to show you anything that proves it. I'm not going to be transparent, because remember, he practices internal transparency. And he does have his arm on his elbow, his hand on his elbow, by the way.
Any sort of...
He is clutching his elbow right now.
Amongst original owners, I do think that there's
even though it's possible, people
I do think there's a chance that there's a concentration amongst people who accumulated after. I've done nothing but disseminate the tokens that I haven't acquired any tokens since Genesis, but I know lots of people are focused on doing that.
Early ICO investors to use different tactics to buy into the ICO using multiple accounts, using multiple different identities. That's not a concern for you moving into the merge about investors that potentially could have...
Zero concern.
Right, zero concern, but I'm not going to talk anymore about how I encourage them to disguise themselves. Top economist for credit rating agency S&P 500 Global says dollar's grip as the dominant global currency is loosening. People are slowly waking up. Now, look at this. This was interesting. A major blow to BRICS. India declares they are not interested in creating a common gold-backed currency. India does not wish to hurt the trade deals with the U.S. and the EU, desires to strengthen the rupee, and sees China using BRICS to their own benefit. So we now have, and let me show you what I found interesting about. Look at this photo. Look how weird this is. It's a photo, it's like somebody took a picture of a photo with all these other guys in it. And you can see a foot back here of someone else. What is this? What are they doing here? You can see, okay, I see what, I think I see, no. This is a foot of someone that's not there now. Maybe this was the guy and they're trying to illustrate that this guy from India is now out of the picture. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. Okay, I get it. But interesting how they did that. Pretty bad Photoshop. Not that I could do better because I don't know how to do that stuff. Now, check this out from James Phelan last night. SEC versus real. In the LBRY case, court has issued its decision on the remedies portion of the case. And LBRY weighed in first and says the final judgment on the SEC. Ooh, that's a thumbnail. The final judgment. LBRY weighs in and says, in accordance with the court's order and our promises, we expect to spend the next several months winding LBRY Inc. down entirely. As to what happens to LBRY, the token, I guess, from here, well, that's up to you. So the SEC has destroyed this company. All the people that were employed and their families, all those people have been harmed. Remember, Gary Gensler will tell you that on every video he does, first thing he'll tell you is that we're here to protect investors, but they decided to protect these guys after the fact and destroy all those people. That's your SEC. That's the United States of America. This is Jeremy Kauffman, who's the CEO of LBRY. All I ever wanted was to do was follow the law. No one at the SEC nor the federal judge himself can tell me what the law allows and doesn't allow. I'd respect the American government if it had a rule of law. It does not. So I don't and I won't respect it, nor will I apologize. And he's pointing to something in the thing that says, and third, at no point has LBRY acknowledged the unlawfulness of its conduct. They won't tell you which conduct it is. They just give you blanket statements. John Deaton is weighing in. I asked the judge to clarify that the token itself is not a security, just as Judge Castle did in Telegram. He declined to do so because he said that the specific issue wasn't litigated, and he believes in exercising judicial restraint. He wrote, it suffices to say that merely holding LBC or purchasing it for consumptive purposes is insufficient to bring third parties within the purview of the injunction. He said, I take no position on whether in other words, this guy wussed out, okay? He's not going to, but I think he was not specifically told to weigh in. He chose to punt on the issue. I'm disappointed the judge wasn't more aggressive like he was in November and January hearings, but he chose to be super conservative. No, he wussed out. That's what he did. Jeremy Hogan had a good write-up here. He says, the final ruling is out. The judge did not rule on secondary sales or, not surprisingly, the major questions doctrine. He enjoined further violations and issued a penalty. Is similar result possible in the Ripple case? Yes, possible, but the court would have to find that there is not enough to fair notice defense to have a trial on the issue. Also, the court would have to find that the past and present sales of XRP are investment contracts in order to provide injunctive relief. The injunctive relief would be a big problem for Ripple since it would enjoin sales from escrow. But it's a problem with a possible solution, just a workaround that might interfere with Ripple's business plans. No ruling on secondary market sales is a status quo ruling, meaning that I don't think Coinbase would relist, but I don't think other exchanges would delist either. What I don't like is the defense the judge shows to the SEC, the deference the judge shows to the SEC in his final paragraph, and his failure to understand the confusion in the marketplace. Very disappointing. In conclusion, this ruling, and indeed this case, provides little market guidance and has protected no one. In fact, it hurt all the people involved. It's just another feather in the SEC hat, that's all. Fred Rispoli, who's also an attorney, came in and said Judge Torres has to address address it as Ripple raised the issue in second affirmative defense in its answer to the SEC amended complaint. And what he's talking about here is this. LBC judge said the specific issue wasn't litigated and he believes in exercising judicial restraint. Was the specific issue litigated in the Ripple case? I think they're asking about secondary sales. To be clear, she has to address, is XRP a security, and that would by definition involve some discussion on secondary sales, but how deep that discussion goes is up for debate. And then finally we have this from Ashley Prosper. I like this tweet. The way I see it. I like that for a thumbnail too. SEC expert, when XRP holders bought XRP, they were relying on Ripple's efforts to increase the XRP price. Judge Torres, you can't tell me that XRP holders were thinking, you can't tell me what the XRP holders were thinking when you didn't speak to any of them. Plus, you admit that if you had, it may have changed your report. Besides, I have about 3,000 affidavits from actual XRP holders that can contradict your conclusion. If that wasn't enough, I have about 15 Amici briefs, several of which prove that at least some holders of the XRP token were in fact using it and not just speculating on price. Furthermore, the SEC has failed to produce a single investment contract between Ripple and these XRP holders. Accordingly, at least one of the prongs from the Howey test has not been met. Thus, XRP sold in the secondary market does not constitute the sale of a security. The end. I can't see how Judge Torres concludes that secondary sales of XRP are securities, not with all the above weighing on her. I agree. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, Tell your friends and family that XRP itself, the oranges, are not securities. And XRP in the secondary market are not securities. What this comes down to is whether this judge does the right thing or not, or does what's right by the law. That's the question. Thanks for listening.